Hey guys, welcome back to another Warhobby chat here on Odds of War. I'm Matt as always. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of base coating work on our chameleon skinks, and we're going to be talking about a tournament that I just went to. So this past weekend I went to a RTT, a local RTT. For those of you that don't know, that means Rogue Trader Tournament. Basically what it is, it's a 3-round tournament. It was in a nearby city, so me and my buddy Tim, we drove out. It was about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive over there, and we had ourselves 3 games. It was 2,000 points. It was an ITC tournament, so that means a sort of specific rule set. Down below, if you don't know about the ITC, I'll link to them and their mission format and stuff, so you can check it out. It's really good for obviously tournament play and sort of creating a balanced gaming atmosphere, so to speak. So we went there. We had a good time. I went 1-2, so 1 win, 2 losses. My 2 losses were both very close, within 5 points. So I'm just gonna chat about those while I lay down some base coats on these guys. So for the chameleon skinks, for their main skin, I already took an airbrush to them and did a Stegodon scale. Green on top, and then came from underneath with, oh gosh, what did I use? Xandri dust. Yeah, Xandri dust on the bottom to be like an underskin there, like an underbelly. And I think they came out really well. One of them I did traditionally by hand and wet blended the spots between them. And then the other 4 I went and did with the airbrush, just because it saves so much time, it's ridiculous. So that's what I did there. And then now what I'm doing is I'm just laying down base colors on all of them, because they have lots of small details that are different than just the skin, of course. So like this guy in particular. So this guy, he's got some frogs on him, so I'm hitting those with some Wah flesh as a base coat for their green. They'll be a much brighter green by the time it's done. And then they have like gold bangles on them and other things like that. So we're gonna be working on all of that. So we get to the tournament, we get there, we get signed in. It's like $15 to enter, so not too bad. And there's a little prize pool at the end for first place, second place, and then like a random draw. So I didn't expect to come in first. I'm not like a professional player by any means, but I just I like going. It's a great way to get 3 games in a day, which is something that like never happens. You're lucky to get 1 game in. Myself personally, I'm lucky to get a game a week normally. So a chance to get multiple games in a day is like a really great opportunity for me. So we sign in, we get our first round pairings, and I'm against a Black Templar player. Black Templars being the Space Marine chapter, and he's got a really interesting list. He's got a brigade, so he's got a ton of command points. He's got Centurions, 3 dreadnoughts, a whole host of characters between his HQs, and then like cheap elite picks and stuff, and then he's got an absolute ton of scouts to fill up his troops requirement. So for my secondaries, I picked. By the way, I was bringing my orcs just a green tide, so I had something like I had 80 boys, I had 50 Gretchen. I had, there's a little guy over here too. I had 50 Gretchen. I had my usual host of buff characters, War Boss, Big Mex, Pain Boy. I had a Knob with the Wah Banner. And then my two sort of like hammer units were Mega Knobs and I had also a unit of 15 Ludas, so 10 Meganobs and 15 Ludas there as sort of my big hitters. So the first game against the Black Templars guy, it actually looked really in my favor to start off with. For secondaries, I picked Gangbusters because he had so many small units of the brigade. Gangbusters is kill 2 units a turn. So I felt pretty confident about that because he had very small squads of scouts, 6 of them. So I was like, that's basically, if I kill 2 scout squads a turn, that's basically all the Gangbusters points. Then I just have to kill maybe something like a scout squad and then one of the dreadnoughts or something like that. I picked Marked for Death on his units, which is where you pick 4 units of a specified power level, 7 I think it is, or above, and then you have to kill those by the end of the game. I picked 2 of his dreadnoughts, a unit of Vanguard veterans, and his unit. He had a unit of Inceptors, so I picked those guys because I was like, those should all be pretty good kills for me, which I did manage by the end of the game to kill all of them. And then I picked, because he had so many characters, I picked Headhunter, which is killing characters, which I thought was a good call. It ended up not being a good call because he was able to hide basically almost all but 2 characters from me. So like I said, the first couple rounds were looking really good in my favor. He wasn't really killing anything besides Gretchen, and I was killing those scouts and getting those points. But the big turnaround was in like round 3 of the game, where I failed to kill. I took my entire Meganob unit and charged it into one of his captains. He had a captain with a jump pack, a Thunderhammer, and a Storm Shield, commonly referred to as a Smash Captain. I charged my full unit of Meganobs in. Like I said, he had a Storm Shield, so he had a 3-up invulnerable save. And I proceeded to not really roll so hot, and he rolled very well on his Storm Shield saves, his 3-up invulnerables. So he managed to kill, or he managed to save and not die to my Meganobs, which, by the way, the Meganobs are like, I want to say almost 40 attacks. So 40 attacks, and they're all strength 10, and they're all multi-damage, and I thought for sure that I was going to kill him, and I didn't, and I failed. I'd only killed one other character at that point. His captain survived, and then proceeded to run away from the Meganobs, and they got absolutely obliterated by the other firepower left in his list. And then it sort of became a game of mopping up the orcs at that point, and me just trying to survive. And I ended up losing that game. I want to say it was 25-23, if memory serves me correctly. So I lost by a couple points there. So it was a close game, so I'm not really like too bummed about that. Had I done a couple things, I made a few like large mistakes in there, most notably picking Headhunter. I should not have done that because I only ever killed 1 character of his. Would have been 2, but the captain lived, which was really really sad. Then I maxed out my other 2 secondaries, which was Marked for Death and Butcher's Bill. I maxed those out, so I know I played well there. And then I played the primary mission a bit too aggressively. I went for the bonus objective on a turn, which I really didn't need to, and I ended up overexposing myself and dying because of that, losing more than I needed to. and so that gave me less to work with later on in the game. So we ended up losing there, which is fine. Second game, I played against a Chaos player who was running the new Red Corsairs, Renegades and Heretics stuff, and Chaos Knights. And that was a really good game. I picked Engineers. I picked Big Game Hunter and Titan Slayers because he had 2 Helverins and 2 Rhinos. So I was like, if I can just kill those over the course of the game, that'll be good there. And then he had 2 Knights. So it was like, if I can just kill a single Knight and then deal enough damage to the second one, then I'll have those points there as well. And then I picked Engineers because he had a little bit of indirect fire, but not a whole lot. And so I felt pretty comfortable with the map we were on and the terrain as it was, that I could hide my Engineers from him and manage to score full points on those. Long story short, I did not manage to score full points on Gangbusters. I only got 2, and he managed to wipe away my units of Gretchen that were my Engineers. I did, however, manage to score full points on Marked for Death and on Titan Slayers, thanks to a valiant effort from my Ludas to take down 2 Rhinos before they got murdered, and my Meganobs for taking down a full Knight, and then Meganobs again for taking down a Helverin, and my Shock Attack Gun for taking down the other Helverin and helping with another Knight. Got me full points on all of that. The big play came in, though, round 3. I managed to get, we were playing the ITC mission, I want to say it's called Crucible of War, and the bonus objective on that is to get 3 characters within scoring range of the objectives, and I managed to get 3 of my characters in scoring range starting on round 3, and I had 2 turns where I managed to keep it that way. So I took a pretty hefty lead in the primary points right there, and I already had a significant lead in the secondaries, such to a point that we hit a point in the game where he could no longer catch up with me in terms of the points. And so we just talked it through about what would be the points if we continued to play. We just talked out the rest, and then just sort of sat back and had some drinks and had a good time just chatting it up. So that was the second game. Third game, I was against a Necron player, which also, let me just touch on really quick. As far as paint jobs go, myself and my friend Tim, we probably had the best looking armies there. Only maybe real competition of like best looking army was this Necron player I'm about to talk about. He had a beautiful paint job on his Necrons. He was running two different dynasties, and he had them painted as such, and they were just gorgeous, you know. So I was really glad to see that, because a lot of the other armies had some gray plastic or some just primed models, which is always a bit of a bummer to see, because you show up to something like this and you're looking to have a good time, have good games, but you're also looking to get with other people that enjoy the hobby like you do, and you want to see some nicely done armies. You don't want to see gray plastic. But there you have it. So this guy, he was playing Necrons. Like I said, he had two different dynasties, and I picked Marked for Death again, because he had a lot of units that were above the power level requirement for that. I picked Engineers again, because again I thought I would have an easy time hiding out of line of sight from a lot of his army. And I picked behind enemy lines because for Necrons he had a pretty mobile army, and I thought perhaps with that, either it would cause him to, it would do one of two things. Either he'd have to pull back and not commit his full army into attacking me, thus giving me a slight advantage, or I thought he would have to allow me to get back there, and then I'd get those points. So, I thought it was a good call. It ended up being not a good call because I only got 1 point on that. So basically, we rolled up deployment, we deployed. I had top of turn, but he proceeded to seize on me, which is, of course, always quite disappointing. And he managed to get first turn, and he took out a whole mess of boys and Gretchen right off the bat, which hurt pretty bad. But I played it about a bit. We did well. We got our kills. We got our holds. We were keeping up. The big mistake though came in turn 3. So turn 3, I used the Orc stratagem Unstoppable Green Tide to pull some of my orcs from one side of the field to another and to be back at full strength, but this left my characters exposed. And I did that because I was confident that I would pass the manifest roll for psychic power to jump, which would have allowed me to jump a large unit of Gretchen. I still had like 20 plus Gretchen in the back in one unit. I was like, it'll allow me to jump them forward in front of my characters, thus keeping them safe. And that was a good plan until the dice disagreed and proceeded. I rolled something like a 1 and a 2, so it was just doomed right there. I did not make the reroll, which I used, and then I had my little blob of characters exposed. One of his secondaries that he picked was Headhunter, and that proceeded to be the game-defining moment because he managed to kill 3 of my characters in the next shooting phase, which meant that he got a point for killing a unit. He got 3 points for his Headhunter mission for killing 3 enemy characters, and he also got the point for kill more units in a round. So that ended up being a total 5 points for him, basically, that I just gave him because I messed up my psychic power because I didn't play conservatively enough. We ended up at the final tally being 28 to 23 points. So I only ended with a 5-point deficit, which, had I not messed up and gave him a 5-point swing on turn 3, it's arguable I would have had more pieces to play with. I could have kept up better. Maybe I would have only given up 3 or 4 of those points and then been able to score a few extra of my own. But that's how it goes sometimes, you go for a big play because you're behind. You think, hey, I got to make this, otherwise I'll be really behind. And at a certain point, you have to make that sort of call and then be comfortable with yourself that okay, I made that call. It was the wrong call, and now now I'm paying for it, which I did. I ended up losing there, so I ended up 1 loss and 2 wins. But thanks to my actual decent point gain on each of my losses, I ended up 5th in the tournament. So that wasn't too bad. I can't really complain about that. And like I said, it was a fun time. Absolutely great venue. The TO was awesome. All the players were gentlemen. There was no, we had a couple rules disputes, but nothing that wasn't nothing that was like highly negative or anything. Just pretty much simply like let's go ahead, let's pull out the rule book, let's double check, make sure we're not doing something wrong here. And then we'd pull it out, and lo and behold, there'd be the rule right there, which would solve the matter instantly. So yeah, that's basically how the tournament went. If you've never gone to a local tournament, I'd really suggest going out. People are always excited to have sort of new blood, so to speak. More people coming into the hobby, coming out and playing, having a good time. People love that. And so they're going to be excited to see you. And, you do have to be prepared for the fact that you're probably going to get pretty well beat up pretty hard on the table your first couple ones, because, if you're not familiar with the format, then you're not going to be doing as well as you could. But, you get some practice games under your belt. You go to a couple of them, you start understanding the format more. Maybe you tweak your lists a bit to fit the format a bit better, and then you have a great time. So, and again, the best part about anything like that, any sort of tournament and an event like that, is just being able to go and be around other people that love the hobby as much as you do and want to spend a whole day playing games, So I'd really encourage anyone to get out there and do that, because it's a really great time. So yeah, that's pretty much it. In this little short amount of time, I managed to get the green down on the frogs that they use for their poison darts, and get the brown base coat down on our blowguns, and on we have a couple with bags here. I had one that I just went ahead and did up fully with base coats and then hit it with a wash to sort of guide my hand. Next, I'm going to be going into a yellow base coat for the darts. I want to do sort of a real bright colored poison dart, and then gold on top of their gold bangles, and for some of their ties and bindings and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it. That's our Warhobby chat for this week. And it's good to play. It's good to get some of the hobbying done. We'll see you on the next one real soon, okay? Bye.